Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you were watching this morning, you've probably seen that I had a live stream going on during the Stellantis, what they call the annual general meeting, or AGM. And what the AGM does is it's basically the meeting that the company holds for the shareholders, and they have to explain to the shareholders their decision and their path going forward. They talk about dividends, they talk about buybacks, they talk about a lot of things, and the shareholders at that time make votes and decisions on certain things within the company. It could be, salaries for the, different, like the CEO and whatnot. But nonetheless, they do their voting thing. So this morning, I went through the whole talk through John Elkann and Doug Osterman, and then I kind of backed off of it when they got to the voting, because, again, we wouldn't have known the votes until after, and the different things they picked. But I was hoping that we would hear something about maybe future product, future plans, maybe production shifts, whatever. We didn't hear any of that. Instead, we heard, 2024's results, basically their financials. They did get a dividend, which the shareholders were probably kind of excited about. The only problem is it's... production has been down for units. I mean, sales have been down. Everything's been down. So it's basically because of the cost-cutting issues with Carlos Tavares. And this year is going to be a rough year. They said they were going to, at the beginning of the year, they said to the dealers and stuff, this was going to be a great year that they were going to push through with sales. But the problem is now they have the Trump tariffs here in the U.S. that they're dealing with. And it's not just the American brands that they're having problems with. Obviously, Maserati's number one market is the U.S. So all those vehicles have high tariffs on them now. And then you also have to look at enlarged Europe. Enlarged Europe has had massive issues right now because there's a huge pushback against EVs, where they thought that they were going to be 100% EV or BEV, battery electric vehicle, market by 2030. People have pushed back against it, and certain countries have pushed back against it, mainly because of the cost. The cost is like ridiculously high for an EV. We've seen that here. That's one of the reasons why EVs are kind of failing here. The cost is just too much for a lot of people. It's pushed vehicles out of, the reach of many people. And what's really different here is the fact that even our gas engine vehicles have been kind of pushed out of the reach of normal people's, budgets. But over in Europe, they just pushed EV too fast. And now that the regulations are going to be kind of dialed back a little bit, now there's a push for hybrids because everybody wants a hybrid instead of an EV. So the market's changing. Both kind of directions that Stellantis was going has kind of, turned against them. And what's really been hard for Stellantis is obviously here in the U.S., the biggest problem is 40% of the vehicles that they sell here aren't built here in the U.S. So they're either built in Canada, Mexico, or overseas. So out of the big three, Stellantis has the most vehicles out of their portfolio built outside the U.S. And it's really coming back to hurt them. Now, Trump has mentioned in the last couple of days that there is a possibility that he will help out certain automakers, meaning basically the American-based automakers like GM, Ford, and possibly Stellantis. But he really hasn't gone too much in depth on what he was planning on doing. So we will have to wait and see. But during this meeting, again, we were waiting to hear some actual, future kind of plans. John Elkann, who's the chairman of the company and acting CEO, kind of mentioned some very important things about the CEO role, the new CEO that they're searching out. And basically he came out and talked about Carlos Tavares right off the bat, and talked about their disagreements with the board and how he left and their hunt for a CEO. So I figured we'll watch that real quick, and then we'll jump back into some of these possible candidates.
Between the board and our CEO, Carlos Tavares, led him to leave the company at the beginning of December of 2024. Since then, the Interim Executive Committee, which the board asked me to chair, has been working with all our teams in the day-to-day management of our company. Important and decisive actions have been taken to ensure that Stellantis is in the strongest possible position when our new CEO will be appointed. The timing of that appointment will be in the first half of 2025.
So, so what John Elkann just said is the CEO, the new CEO, whoever that person may be, is going to be basically on board with the company before the end of June. What's very interesting is it's already mid-April, and in a recent Reuters report that was published today, they kind of released some very interesting information. Some of it we kind of knew, but they released that that they're down to the final 5 candidates, and John Elkann kind of basically said that during the meeting in later questions. But what they basically said was they have 2 internal people and 3 people outside the company. And he said that before last month during a different meeting. But what we are finding out is we know who the 2 internal people are now. And if you work for Stellantis, you've probably heard these names thrown around, and they have been the leading candidates within the company right from the get-go, ever since Carlos left. The other thing is the 3 other people that we don't know who they are from outside the company. They are all men. We know that for sure. And again, we're going to probably know who it is at least by the end of June. We've heard some rumors that it could be a former, Stellantis / FCA higher up. We've heard rumors saying that it could be a former BMW person. So there's been lots of rumors going around, but nothing's been confirmed just yet. But we do know who the 2 internal candidates are, and I'm going to talk about them real quick. The first one is kind of an obvious one. This is Antonio Filosa. He is the Chief Operating Officer for Stellantis North America at the moment, and he's also the Chief Quality Officer, a position that he just got last month. So what Antonio's actually been with the company since 1999. He joined the FIAT group down in South America. And he moved his way up through the company pretty good, pretty rapidly too. He's had success wherever he's gone, and he's made a huge name for himself within the last 2 years, especially here in North America. So if you know anything about Antonio, we can go through his little bio here. So he joined Fiat in 1999, where he assumed the roles increasing responsibility, including a plant manager position at the Bentham facility in Brazil. He was also the head of purchasing for Latin America region. Filosa also served as the head of the Argentina market, as well as head of Alfa Romeo and Maserati brands for the Latin American region, positions he held from 2016 to 2018 respectively. He also served as the COO for FCA's Latin America region and was a member of the FCA Group Executive Council from March 2018. So he was on the Executive Council with Tim Kuniskis and Mike Manley at that time. So good company to be with. Filosa also holds a master's degree in engineering from Italy. And what's very interesting is he basically kind of turned around the South American market. If you know anything about what's going on right now in the auto industry, this past year with sales, Fiat was actually the best-selling brand for Stellantis. Out of all the vehicles that were sold within Stellantis, Fiat made up 52% of Stellantis' actual sales for the brands. Fiat's biggest market is South America, specifically Brazil. Brazil, they have the number 1 selling basically pickup with the Fiat Strada, and they sell some of the best-selling cars down there. And they are the number 1 truck producer down there as well. But what Antonio did was he basically went down there and made it so it was like a huge thing about pride and being built in South America, especially Brazil. He made a huge success of the Jeep brand down there. He basically had the launches of the Renegade, which is built down there, the Compass, which is also built down there, the Commander, which is the elongated Compass, which has been a huge success as a third row D segment vehicle down there. And Jeep became the number 1 SUV brand. Fiat's obviously the number 1 truck brand. The Ram brand has been booming down there for the last several years. He basically helped expand the Ram brand from just the Ram 2500 to the Ram 1500, 3500, and now the Ram Rampage. So there's huge growth in South America, more so than anywhere else in the company. And it was all under Antonio. So that's one of the reasons why he was pushed up to be the Jeep CEO. And while he was the Jeep CEO, there was another guy who was acting as the Chief Operating Officer for North America, a guy by the name of Carlos Tavares, who was actually the president of GM Mexico. He came here, and we've heard stories about Carlos Tavares. We really haven't heard nothing from him since his. They supposedly moved him within the company, but we've never heard of any other position he was given within the company. No one knows really what happened to him. Even if you looked at his LinkedIn page, it doesn't show anything after Stellantis. But what was very interesting was he caused a lot of conflict between dealers, the company, as well as the workers in the company as well. But anyways, they moved up Antonio to this position, and since like over the last year, he's been really putting out fires with dealers. The dealers were really upset with Stellantis. Basically, they had a survey done where a majority of the dealerships in the U.S. Actually took part of it, and they said that 72% of the dealerships didn't trust Stellantis, and they were ranked the worst out of like the trust factor for any automaker that was sold in the U.S. So Antonio went in there, fixed those issues. He's been really trying to, help the brands understand like, hey, there's future product. We're here for you instead of we want you to just sell cars and shut up. And he's done such a good job doing that. I really had a hard time thinking that they would push him up into a CEO role. But he's been one of the leading candidates since the beginning. He's also now, within the last month or two, he was named the Chief Quality Officer, not just for North America, but for the whole entire company. So it's his job to make sure that they're actually going back to better quality. That's been a huge problem with Stellantis vehicles. We've seen the quality just go down the tubes. We've seen botched launches like the Dodge Charger Daytona and the Wagoneer S. And you can see under his leadership roles, especially here in North America, they've pushed stuff back. So we're seeing things like, the Ram Charger push forward, but the Ram, even though it's been pushed back a little bit, we're seeing it pushed in front of the Rev under Tim Kuniskis is like, tutelage, but Antonio's the main guy. Tim reports to him. And then we're also seeing like, them out testing nonstop with Stella Large vehicles. If you're around Auburn Hills, you'll see tons and tons of Dodge Charger Daytonas, Wagoneer S's out testing, trying to fix issues that they've had going into this new 2026 model year, which is going to start very soon for Charger. But they're trying to fix the issues that they've had since January, since when they launched these vehicles, and they've had really dismal sales. So they're trying to correct that. So he's been really good about trying to like promote quality, promote, like the whole ethic as a team, just a whole different kind of realm compared to what Carlos Tavares was. So again, he's one of the leading candidates for sure. And, out of him and the next person we're going to talk to, Antonio, to me, would be a better fit. The other person is Maxime Paquette. Now, if you work for Stellantis, you know him because he's the chief, he's the chief purchasing and supply quality officer. And he's also the COO for the Asian Pacific, Middle East, and Africa market. Now, what's very interesting about him is he's from the Peugeot side. So he joined the automaker back in 1998 for Peugeot. He's had several manufacturing jobs within the company, the Mulhouse facility, the Soso plant in France. He was a director of the manufacturing facility for Wuhan, China for Peugeot as well back in 2007. And then he was actually the managing director for Dongfeng Peugeot Citroen automobiles in China, and he was also the deputy managing director between 2008 and 2011 for the China role too. In 2012, he was appointed as CEO for Peugeot. And then he was the executive vice president for Europe from 2016 to 2021, and that's when Stellantis was formed. And then when Stellantis was formed, he was the COO for Enlarged Europe, starting in January 2021 until recently. So, and then another thing is he's actually a board member now. He's on the interim executive committee for Stellantis. So he's a board member right off the get-go. So the only problem I have with him compared to Antonio is Antonio knows the brands pretty well. Obviously, he worked for Fiat went into Chrysler, Fiat Chrysler and stuff like that. But if you look at the brands that Antonio's worked with, he hasn't really worked with the European brands too much, but he's worked with Alfa Romeo, Maserati, Fiat, right? He's worked with Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. They sell Peugeots down in, basically South America and Latin America. Peugeot. He's dealt with Citroen. So he's kind of had his hands in everything other than a couple of the brands. Where Maxime really hasn't dealt with the American side, doesn't really know North America. He doesn't have a background in North America. And again, up until this past year, where enlarged Europe is actually catching up to North America because sales have been so dismal here because of the pricing structure, Maxime doesn't know that market. Antonio knows, basically all the brands. And they want somebody that, basically John Elkann has said that they want somebody that understands all the brands in their history. So these are the two internal candidates that we know of. Again, we don't know who is the external candidates. We know they're men. Again, there's been rumors going around that it could be a former CEO for BMW. It could be somebody within the company that is returning. We don't know. And we'll find out soon enough. But nonetheless, that's what's been going on. Those are your two internal candidates for sure. And I just think Antonio would be such a better fit. Again, I don't know who the other three are. And hopefully they pick somebody that's good within the company. I just, as an American especially, looking in, we've seen how, Carlos Tavares, who comes from the Peugeot side, does and operates things. And Maxime Paquette has come from that side of the whole aspect. He's been with Carlos Tavares the whole way, where it's all about cost cutting and stuff like that. Antonio's in here, changing things, being positive. I just think that Antonio would be a better suited person for the role overall, and he knows the brands better. So what do you think? Who do you think would be a great CEO? Is there somebody outside the company that you would think would be better? Leave your comments below, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.